Hi, welcome to this video. If you clicked on this video, then you're probably wondering how to ace A&P. Now, I'm just going to start off and say, guys, A&P is a super distinct subject. It is unlike any other subject, in my opinion. It's like unlike any other subject. It's very different. But one thing you have to know is that A&P is simply pure memorization. Like, it is like a part-time job. A lot of people will say, like, what are your tricks and hacks for, like, studying A&P? And really there are none. Like, it's simply, you just gotta put the time in. I got a C in A&P 1, but I got an A+ in A&P 2. So I took a lot of learning for me to understand how to go about this subject. Studying A&P in and of itself should be a different class because it's a lot of work. So I'm just going to start off by saying that I am planning to divide this video by different sections. Planning to divide it by quizzes and assignments, exams, and then cumulative exam if you have cumulative exam in your course this semester. Not everyone does. And the last thing will be a lab, and then the exams that follow with lab. So I just want to start off by saying, and I know this is kind of late if you've already started the semester, and I'm very sorry for that, but if you haven't already, make sure that when you take an A&P course, you really look into who you're taking it with, okay? Like, let's be real. If you clicked on this video because you want an A, and a lot of us who are taking A&P are either pre-med, pre-health something, and we need a good grade. Like, it's gotta be an A or something, or a B, or whatever floats your boat, but it has to be good. So if you're planning to get a good grade in this course, I highly recommend you look for a good teacher. And for this, I recommend ratemyprofessors.com. Thoroughly look through the reviews, and if you feel that that professor's teaching style is something that you would feel comfortable with, then go ahead and go through with choosing that professor. But it is super important to pick the right professor for A&P. With that being said, with A&P, I never used the book. Like, I didn't even open the book. Super thick, and it's like something that I just couldn't see myself dedicating time reading to every week, because I've tried reading the A&P book in A&P 1, and I would just be lost, and I would just get lost in a sea of words, and I would just be sitting there and nothing was retained. Nothing was retained, okay? And again, I have to remind you guys, this class is about rote memorization. It's just memorization. I decided that this semester I wasn't going to read the book, because if you really think about it, a majority of my exams content was only from the PowerPoints. Literally, it was just from the PowerPoints. And so, yes, the book would be a really good thing for reference. And if you like to read, then read the book. I'm not telling you not to get it, but if you want to read, read it. But it's super good for reference. It's super good for the diagrams. The diagrams are very detailed. They illustrate the concepts well. They illustrate the stages well, okay? Because what I find that the lecture portion of A&P, a lot of it has to do with definitions, functions, has to do with different processes, so things like this physiological parts that go on go on in the body. Sorry. So for each class, before each lecture, okay, I would take the PowerPoint, sit down with it, and I would rewrite it. Why would I do this? Because I found that during A&P, like the actual lecture, if I was writing the notes, like physically or typing the notes while the lecturer was lecturing, not only would I not retain the information of what I was writing down, because I'd be trying to listen to my professor, but I also couldn't retain what my professor was saying because I was busy writing down information. Okay, so they both canceled each other out. What I would do is before each class, I would open up Quizlet.com, and you're going to hear me talk about Quizlet a lot. I would open up Quizlet, I would look at the term side, and I would look at the definition side, okay? And what I did is I took each PowerPoint, and each slide in the PowerPoint, I would take the title of the slide, write it down in the terms section, and then I would take the content of that slide and write it down in the definition section, bullet point by bullet point. I would just thoroughly type it out before class. And this way, not only was I internalizing the information that was going to be talked about in class that day, but I was creating my notes. Okay, so I understood. I got an inkling of what I was going to do in class that day, and I understood things that I would not have if I was writing them down in class. So when I would go to class, I would open up the Quizlet, open up the PowerPoint too, and I would just listen. I would literally focus all my attention on the lecture because, guys, there are things that the lecturer or the professor will emphasize on, talk about very creatively, speak about in a very like entertaining way, and believe it or not, those things are what we tend to hold on to most. So when it comes to exam time, because you remember that 1 minute the lecture was going on about one process super creatively, you're gonna, know what to write down in your exam, all right? And you're just gonna know what to focus on in the exam. If the lecturer says something important that you didn't see in the PowerPoint, write it down with the PowerPoint. So it's like a win-win. Not only are you retaining good information from the professor, but you also have your notes down from before class. Moving on. Assignments and quizzes. What did I do with these guys? So to study for the quizzes, I would obviously look through the PowerPoint. I would ask the professor what we need to focus on that day, and I would just memorize it. I would just, make sure I thoroughly understood the PowerPoint. Quizzes are not as intense as exams, so if you attend class regularly and you read the PowerPoints thoroughly, you should be able to pass without too much difficulty, okay? And the minute I would get a quiz back, what I would do is I would go to Quizlet again, open up Quizlet again, and I would take the questions from that quiz, write them down in the term section, and then write down the right answers in the definition section. Okay, why would I do this? Because for each week in A&P, there was a different lesson. Okay, let's say that week it was the heart or the cardiovascular system. Okay, so for that week, I need to create a study packet. Okay, and so that would consist of the quiz, and if she gave any assignments that week, that would also consist of the assignments. What would I do with the assignments? Same thing. Questions would go on the term side of Quizlet, and the answers would go on the definition side of Quizlet. And so the assignment along with the quiz, I would put together on Quizlet as my study packet for that week. Moving on to exams. Exams for me happened, I had like 4 exams for A&P2, and they happened on a month-by-month basis. How I would study for the exams, I would take each week leading up to the exam. Let's say it's 4 weeks leading up to the exam, and let's say they're all on different things: cardiovascular system, endocrine system, blood vessels, yada yada yada. Okay, so I would take each week's study packet, and I would pretty much put them together to study for the exam. How would I do this? Each week, all right, let's say week 1, I studied week 1's content. Let's say week 2 comes around. I studied week 2's content along with week 1's content. Let's say week 3 came along. I studied week 3's content along with 2, 3, and 1, and so on and so forth. So if you find yourself in a pinch, I would do maybe the week leading up to the exam. I would kind of, this is if you're cramming, guys. This is if you're really cramming. Okay, I don't recommend this at all. But if you're cramming, then designate each day to each week and just get that information in, shove that information to your brain. You have to memorize it. But if you follow the method that I used before, you shouldn't be cramming, and you shouldn't be having all of a sudden cramming all this information into your head. You just got to do everything by a week-by-week schedule, week-by-week process, okay? Because, and I'm going to mention this with lab as well, A&P isn't the kind of subject that you should be studying for last minute. It's pure memorization. You can't memorize something one night before and think that you're going to pass the next day. It has to be rote memorization. It has to be day-by-day basis. So make sure that you are frequent with your review sessions with A&P. Okay? Okay, so moving on. Okay, so now we have our study packets. We have our exam, all right? Some extra resources that really helped me, and this is the week before the exam, okay? Or the week of a quiz, whenever you want to do it. Let's say that week I'm studying hearts. Let's say that week I'm studying cardiovascular system. The thing that really helped me, I'm a visual learner, and the thing that really helped me was this series on YouTube called Crash Course, alright? And it's done by someone called Hank Crane. Each week, he has a lesson literally on every single topic in A&P, from A&P 1 to A&P 2, and they're done in the most creative, cartoony, like entertaining pieces of content that I could ever, like literally, I would accredit a lot of my like memorization to the Crash Course videos because they're just too entertaining to forget. So if you're studying a quiz that week and you need to really get that information in, watch the Crash Course videos. Watch it during the week of the quiz and then watch it again before the exam. Okay, so again, before an exam, 4 weeks of lessons, right? Watch 4 videos and you'll be fine. It's an amazing resource, guys. I highly recommend you watch them because I would finish every study session with those videos, and I would watch them over and over again because watching it once was not enough for me. I had to literally like watch them maybe 2-3 times at a time to really like, not at a time, not in a row, but like, you know, 2-3 times leading up to the exam I would watch them, and they were just super creative, super, you know, informational, super, yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying right now. The week leading up to the exam, you should definitely try finding a study partner. I do not believe in group studying. I don't believe in studying every single study session with a person because there's so much room for distraction and time waste. But I would say if you have the content down and you're pretty confident, find someone in your class that is kind of on the same level as you and teach them the material and let them teach you the material. And you will be surprised at how much memorization happens when you recite information and you try to make someone else understand. In addition to that, there might be things that your partner knows that you may not know. Like, for example, if you weren't paying attention for a smidgen of a second in class when the teacher went over something super important and she said, this is going to be on the exam, and she knows that and you don't know that, that's going to benefit you when she tells you, by the way, we're supposed to know this. And vice versa, you can be helping her out too. So there's so many benefits to having a study partner during class. In addition to that, if there are any review sessions before the class, attend those review sessions. Why do I say this? A lot of people skip review sessions because they think it's an extra day I could be using to study. But it's pretty counterintuitive because those review sessions are meant to help you understand what to emphasize on, okay? If she's talking about this one topic for like minutes and minutes at a time, there's a pretty good chance it's going to come on the exam. So make sure that you really take note to attend these review sessions so that you yourself know what to focus on. And in addition to that, there have been times when I've been in review sessions and, you know, I'm studying something super hard, one topic super hard, and I'll ask her like, do you think that we need to focus as much on this? And she'll say things like, forget about it, like you don't even have to worry about it. And I know to omit that from my study packets, from my study guides, because I don't need that. When it comes to the day of the exam, again, all you would have to do, if you have time, let's just say like 3 days before the exam, go through your study packets, the ones you made with the quizzes and the assignments, okay? Go through the videos on Crash Course, amazing videos, guys, amazing videos, and meet up with someone to talk about what's missing in your study and what's missing in her study, and recite to each other what you learned, okay? And these tips should really enable you to memorize the content in A&P very well. The thing I forgot to mention is that sometimes in A&P exams you do have like a written essay portion, and it usually has to do with a process in the body, a physiological process in the body. How did I memorize physiological processes? I took each physiological process, I took a blank sheet of paper, and this is probably the only time that I actually wrote anything down, like handwritten for A&P, and I wrote every single stage of a process step by step. Let's say that we're talking about the formation of bone, okay? So I would write stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and then if I could, I would draw out a small diagram next to each stage, and I would spend like a good 30 minutes just memorizing that process. Okay, and that process I would have to memorize. If it was for that week's lecture, I would just memorize it for the quiz, and again I would memorize it each week leading up to the exam. Alright, so that's a very, very, very important way to memorize processes, physiological processes in A&P. Alright, so let's move on to the lab portion of A&P. And Honestly, guys, I truly believe A&P Lab and A&P Lecture are so different, but they complement each other so well. And A&P Lab, again, pure memorization, but this time it's visual. How did I study for this? Each week we'd get a list of terms that we'd have to know. Let's say that week it was the muscle group. Ooh, I hate the muscle group. So we had to study the muscles, all right? So Quizlet, again, I would open up Quizlet. I would input my terms, okay? Let's say muscles of the arms, okay? So I would create a Quizlet, again, I would open up Quizlet. I would input my terms, okay? Let's say muscles of the arms, okay? So I would create a Quizlet that said muscles of the arms. I would input my terms. I would choose a visual. This is an option on Quizlet, by the way. You go to Quizlet, and in the definition section, there's an option to just pick a visual, okay? Pick the visual. Let's say it's the tricep muscle. Pick the visual for that, input it, and if you have to write down the function of it, and some lab terms require functions, then write down the function of it. In our labs, we would have to get the spelling right of each term. If we got the spelling wrong, the whole word would be counted as wrong. So it's very important for me to not only know the visuals of the lab terms, but it was very important for me to know the spelling. Okay, so there are a few things you can do. Quizlet has the learn section. Start with the learn section, become familiar with the content, but as you go on with the learn section, restart the learn and only choose written questions. All right, forget MCQ, forget flashcards, just choose written. So that way when the visual pops up, you know how to write the word and you will be corrected right away. And they will progress to focus on your weak points with that particular set of words. So keep doing your learn, keep doing your testing on Quizlet. I kid you not, guys. I found that when I was, again, studying 1-2 nights before the lab practicals or the lab quizzes, I was not passing. Like, one night of memorization for the lab terms was not enough for me. I would literally take 4 to 5 days out of the week leading up to a quiz, and I would take 1 to 2 hours, depending on how much content there was, to study for that lab quiz. And I would simply just go over it on Quizlet. I would just write the terms down over and over again, really focusing on my weak points. How do we study for lab practicals? Okay, lab practicals, the way to study for them are pretty similar to what I said to the exams. You will take week 1's content, study it during week 1. Week 2, you'll study week 2 and week 1. Week 3, you'll study week 1, 2, and 3. And then when you have your lab practice, you have the whole package for you. Cumulatives. Okay, let's get on the subject of cumulatives. So cumulatives for lecture and lab really have to do with you taking every week step by step, studying every week step by step. Usually a month or two before the exam, what I do is I'll focus week 1, like the month before the exam. Week 1 will probably be focused on month 1. So month 1's content will be reviewed during week 1. Week 2, I will review month 1 and month 2. Week 3, I would review month 1, 2, and 3, and so on and so forth. If you only have 2 weeks before the exam, designate the first 3 days to month 1, the next 3 days to month 2, the next 3 days to month 3, and so on and so forth. And make sure that you are building off of your knowledge from before. And when it comes time to the cumulative, you should know what you're doing because you have been reviewing step by step. You've been reviewing, adding, reviewing, adding, reviewing, adding. Okay, that's how it's going to work with A&P. All right, I think that's pretty much all I have. I don't think I have any more tips. If you implement some of the tips that I told you guys today, and if it works out for you, please comment below if it worked for you. If you guys have any tips on how to do well in A&P, please comment down below on what you think is a great study method. I hope you guys have a great semester. I hope that you guys are going through A&P with a breeze, even though it's not a breeze. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any more questions. Thank you.